You are listening to the Next Play podcast, the playbook for high-performing leaders who want to exceed their full potential. From walking on the Ole Miss football team at 5'7", 150 pounds and earning a full D1 scholarship, to coaching thousands around the world and working with massive organizations like IBM. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me as I interview some of the most successful people so you too can learn how to focus on always moving forward by deciding, planning, and executing on the next play relentlessly. This is Richie Contartesi, also known as Relentless Richie, with the Next Play podcast. And today I got an amazing guest. He is going to blow your mind away with some of the things that this man has done in the past year and in the past 20 years. His name is John Stefanik, and he is the vice president of bakery sales at J&J Snack Foods. He started out as a baker and in 20 years worked his way all the way up to the VP level. And he's already asking what's next, just to throw that in there. And he did something really wild and something only people dream about doing. And that's that he got on the scale one day and he looked at the scale and he was almost 370 pounds. And within 4 months, he lost just over 100 pounds and is down to, what was it?
357 or 257. I'm sorry.
257. It's insane. He did that here's what's crazy. He did it in 4 months and has now maintained it for 7, is going to make it a lifestyle. So today he's going to talk about not only how he did that, how he worked his way up to the VP level, and now how he uses what he's learned to lift up his team, to continue to grow his team and grow his people. So appreciate having you today, John.
Thanks for having me, Richie.
Absolutely. So let's just start from the beginning. You went to school to be a baker. Walk me through how you went from being a baker to, looks like, bakery training specialist, territory sales manager, Midwest region manager, director, and VP. Like, walk me through that journey.
It started when I was 14 years old, Richie. I was, just a kid, wanted a job in the worst way, in between sports, and local bakery was the only place that would hire me to for under the table without any working papers and such. And I fell in love with the industry. I've always liked to cook and bake. And so I went to school for culinary arts in an apprenticeship program, and the school was a highly recognized school across the country for culinary arts. So did that and found that I liked the baking side of it more. The baking side, you got to work up to the holiday, killed yourself, but you had the holidays off. When you're in culinary side, it's opposite. You work through every single holiday and everything. So I stuck to the baking side. Had an opportunity to go to work for a company and as a bakery training specialist, getting to share my knowledge and help train and bring the next generation of bakers into the marketplace. And through that, I had my director of sales that I worked under retired a year after I started, and they didn't replace him. And I just kind of thought, well, if they're not selling anything, there's not going to be anything to train on. So I just kind of took a price list, went out and started selling. And, I started reading and attending a lot of different seminars and whatnot to harness the sales side, and have grown from there. Every time I get a little taste and I want more. So that's really what has driven it up the ladder. Early on, I didn't think that, it was possible for a kid out of Western Pennsylvania in a little small town. So I had the mindset that there's only so many vice presidents in the world, and I'm not going to fit into that small little class. And every time I took a step, I just said, all right, what's the next step? Because I want to keep climbing this ladder. This is getting fun. It's the challenges that drive you. And as we talked earlier, I enjoy being uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
As soon as I start to feel comfortable where I'm at, it's like, what's next?
Got it. Dude, that's a good way to live. how did you go from being a baker to sales? I know you said you attended seminars, but what made you say, you know what, like I know the position opened, but what drove you to say, I'm going to take this over? And how did you make that transition? Because those are like completely different things.
They are, but it really comes down to people. You know, when I got into the sales side, it was about building those relationships and making the relationship stronger, because sales is easy. It's a product and it's a price, you know. But it's building the relationships and earning the trust and earning that respect from everybody. That's what makes it fun. And that's where you have to learn the knack to really listen to people and you know, connect and be able to carry that across the work part. But you know, it's life in general. You get to, I've made so many friends out of doing this across the country that, you know, the work part is it's the fun. Yeah. You know, but you get those long-term relationships, and that's what's meaningful. That's what it's all about.
100%. So how did you get good at, but were you just naturally good at relationships and building relationships? Was it just something that when you got into sales, you decided you were going to just, hey, I'm actually really passionate about this. I like learning about people. I like helping people. How did you make that realization that for you, sales, you know, product and a price, but for you, it was relationships, and what was your strategy for building them?
Yeah, I think that it's just, I've always had a passion for people and helping other people. So it was a way to do that. You know, you're making a living doing what you love. That's the ultimate dream, right? Yeah. You know, I don't get up to go to work every day. I get up to go play and have fun. And the end result is the positive results in the business. You know, and developing people. That's truly what the passion is how do I help somebody else be as successful and happy in life as what I am, you know, and that's what I try to do, is I try to make sure that everyone on my team, you know, is aspiring to do that and push forward to better themselves, but have a blast doing it.
For sure. And that's why you immediately went into a leadership role. That's because of that right there, because to me, it sounds like your why was always, hey, I had success doing this. I enjoyed doing it. How can I lift other people up to be able to do the same thing? And so that's, I mean, and then developing leaders, that's leadership. So, okay.
And
so
I love to learn.
Say that again.
I said, and I love to learn. So, you know, when you get to deal with the diverse groups of people and the customer base and the people that you're leading, you know, it keeps that knowledge flowing, and you learn something new every single day from those people.
Right. And you can take that and use it. I hate when people don't do that. I hate when people are in manager leadership roles and they're like, oh, I'm here. I got it. I'm good to go now. It's like, no, dude, like learning's forever. Come on, bro.
I definitely try to look at myself as a servant leader.
Yeah. Cool. So that when you say servant leader, what is your vision of that? What do you mean by that?
I need no kudos. I need no recognition for what I'm doing. I need my team to have that all. You know, I'm here completely to support my team in accomplishing their goals, which ultimately relate to the company goals. But, you know, I am here to support them. I don't look for any of the credit for any of the results. It's my team has done everything. I am just a support person for them.
100%. You know, I heard, I can't remember who said this. It was a coach. I follow to a T Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. I just think what they do is out of this world. And I can't remember if it was Belichick or it might have actually been Brady that said this. And he said, if we win, it's we. And if we lose, it's I. So like if the team loses, it's my fault. But if we win, it's the team's fault.
100%.
And I think that's how you've lived, right? Like that's how you've gone up this ladder so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% true. I think it was Brady, as much as it
Was it
pains
Brady?
me being a Steeler fan. It was tough to admit, but I think it was Brady that said that, and it's so true. If anybody on my team falls, it's my failure.
Yep. And if the team wins, that's the team's. It's just the
Yep,
team. They
they did
brought it.
it. Yep.
Okay, so you got up to this sales position above the baker role, but you've went up like Midwest, senior territory, Midwest region, senior director, vice president. Walk me through that journey.
Well, it's been a fun journey, and I'm fortunate to say that I've done it with the same company over all these years too. It's not jumping around. It's, and it comes from the passion, and growing the business and understanding it. So, as the business evolved, it was a fairly small business whenever I joined the company, and it has grown to be about a third of the entire company. So it's a very significant part. And as it grew, I was able to grow with it and continue to take on new challenges. I had some really great bosses and mentors through that time that helped keep me pushing. But like I said, every level you get, as soon as I start to feel a little bit comfortable, I start getting really itchy that I need to get uncomfortable again. What's the next step? Where am I going? What can I do to be better, to be more impactful to the people, to the company, to the business?
Got it. So talk me through some of these mentors that you have. Like what did they do with you or help with you to push you to grow? Because you don't make a jump. A title's a title, but you don't make that jump until you become a specific person, right? To be able to handle it and fulfill it. Like, cause they can give you a title and then in 1 year you could be out, right?
Right.
But that obviously didn't happen. So how did these mentors in your life or coaches, however you want to say it, lift you up and get you and help you to the next level? Like what did that look like?
Well, I mean, I will say that I learned a lot of things that I should want to do. I also learned a lot of things from them I didn't want to be or do with my team, so tried to pick the best and push aside the worst. And, but like I said, I've been very fortunate with the bosses that I've had. They've had long careers in sales and in leadership roles. And, they've instilled a lot of the good values and the open door policies and that servant leadership style. So I feel very fortunate in that fact. And they pushed me. They knew to push me into my uncomfortable zones. Because as you can tell, I do like to talk, and I am very open about all those things. And so I was open about what was a struggle and what wasn't with those folks. And they helped push me into the uncomfortable zones to keep me growing.
Got it. And so I'm interested to hear, like, what were I know you said open door policy. That's obviously something that's worked well for you. What was one of the things that you realized like you don't want to do with your team that somebody listening could be like, oh man, I got to stop doing that, or I shouldn't do that, or, this could stop you from making progress quickly?
Yeah. It's, to me, it's really the approach to a problem. Throughout my career, I've witnessed some screaming and hollering. And, prior to being in these roles, I worked in family bakeries, and I'm very used to that and very thick skinned to that.
Yeah.
But I also realized that, the newer generation of folks coming into the workplace, not so much.
They're not down for that.
Nah, you really have to handle folks with a little bit more care and compassion, and it's not hard to do. You just have to think about it. You got to take a deep breath before you react, because we've all found ourselves in some very difficult situations. You might lose a $10 million customer, and before you start pointing fingers and screaming and hollering, you gotta step back and say, okay, what happened? Why did that happen? And how are we gonna go at this? It's a part of business. And so I just try to level set myself when a big problem presents itself, and, take some time, sit back, reflect on it before addressing the team with it. So that's one of the big things, because trust me, I've had some folks come at me pretty hard over the years.
Okay.
And like I said, I can take that, but there's a lot of people that it's very non-constructive, to say the least. And it can take a long time to reverse the effects of one blow up.
Right.
And in today's fast-paced world, we don't have time to have to take a 3-month break fixing something that could have been solved by just taking a 1-day break to think it over yourself before you address the problem.
Right. It's just like emotional reaction, like something. We just lost a $10 million client, and it's like the first reaction is to just freaking go nuts and
go nuts and start pointing fingers, and that's not
excuses, blame, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So you go ahead. You're gonna say something?
No, and I was just gonna say it plays into what you're doing with the next play. It's you got to think about what is that next play, because that one's done. The $10 million loss is done. So what is the next play we're gonna run?
100%, man. You're so accurate, and it's like I just did a workshop, not yesterday, but the day before, and just hitting on that key point, which is people believe accountability. And I always talked about responsibility, but I didn't know how to package it. And so people believe accountability is holding people responsible for their previous and past decisions. And so the problem with that, it's how we look at accounting, right? And the problem with that is it's very negative, and it's very like, hey, you did this, you shouldn't have did this. Here's how you do it next time. This is how most people approach bad scenarios. And it sounds like you approach the scenarios exactly the way that the next play is all about. And it's we hold people accountable to what's possible for them on their next play. I don't give a damn that they screwed up on the last play. Can we learn from it? 100%.
Yep.
My role as a leader is I'm going to hold you accountable, not just to your next play, but I want to hold you accountable and unlock your potential to what's possible on your next play. Right?
Absolutely.
People's focus is all over the place. They're either focused in the past at all their mistakes, right? Drives morale down, or they're fearing what could happen in the future, failure, rejection, what people think. And so what the next play does is it brings them right into the present moment. I'm focusing on just the play in front of me. It's like, dude, okay, Roethlisberger walks out onto the field on 1st and 10 on the first drive, and he's thinking about the fourth quarter, making a final drive to win the game. Like you can't, but people do this every day in business. They're thinking about, oh my God, like they have a meeting and they're thinking about the meeting at the end of the day. It's like, no, bro, like what's your next play? I'm going to hold you accountable to your potential, what's possible for you on your next play. I don't give a damn about your last play number 600, just what's possible for you right now on your next play. That's it.
100%.
And that's, I think, like if people can take away the way you did it was similar, and it's just like, hey, what can we learn from this? And how do we get you better for the next play and keep you laser focused? Bill Belichick and, the greatest coaches of the world, are they thinking about 3 games, or are they thinking about 1 game week to week?
Yeah. You got to go one step at a time.
It's week to week. It's Belichick's play by play, game by game, week by week. That's it. Laser focus. And I think you've done an amazing job of that with your team. I don't mean to go on a rant. It's your interview, but you really emphasize that. And I think it's important. So, okay. So you started moving up. How did you make the jump from, let's say, director role to becoming the vice president? Because J&J Snack Food, that's a big company. And you're saying that bakery sales is a third of the company. Is that right?
It's close to a third. Yeah.
Bro, how did you become a vice president? Like, how did you do that? What was that to make that leap? What?
Uh,
Tell me the story. Just tell me the story of how
yeah.
you
So I was running the Midwest Central region of the country, and I got a call. I was at a client event, and I got a call from the CEO of the company that said, "Hey, John, what do you think about moving to New Jersey?" And I was living in Western PA at the time. It was like, "Oh, can I give you a call back in 10 minutes? I got to call the wife before I answer this." Yeah, I know where the priorities lie.
Yeah. Good. Happy wife, happy life. Okay, good.
Yeah. So, she's like, "Is it what you want?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so we went for it, and we moved down here, and I took the role as a senior director, and continued to grow. That was really the big leap to leadership of having the whole team report to me, and got to be it got to grow the business and the company, the portfolio, over the next 5-6 years, and then came the promotion to vice president, and taking on more responsibilities, and more direct responsibility for the P&L and all that stuff. So it's been a very fun ride. We'll put it that way, to put it simply. But the team has grown over the last several years, and we were able to stay really strong throughout COVID. I would say that was probably the biggest test of trying to keep a team together.
Yeah.
That I think anybody listening could attest to, that was a challenge. The quick transition to a digital world, with a very mixed team, spanning across several different generations, to put it that way. But they transitioned well, and those who had problems came, and we worked them out, and we figured it out, and then we're coming out on the other side of this as a very solid group.
So 2 questions. One is, was there anything in particular that happened where they said, "Okay, man, you're ready. Let's move you to the VP role"? That's one. And then the second question is, how did you transition your team to digital? Like, how did you, because how big is your team actually at this point? Because when I worked with you guys, it was like 12, 15.
When you worked with us, there were a lot of people in the room that weren't a part of the direct team. So yeah, it was probably 8 people at that point, and we're in the 15 range now. So
got it. And are they now, what the people that are under you, are they direct salespeople, or are they managers? Walk me through kind of what
they're managers. They're at the director levels, that are reporting up. They manage pretty large regions and large portfolios of customers, with some support in teams in there, and then broker networks.
Got it. So they all have salespeople under them.
Sales or support.
Yeah. Sales or support. Okay. And because they're not actually doing the sales at this point.
But we're very boots on the ground organization.
Gotcha.
So, I go and do a lot of direct myself still to this day.
Oh, really?
I feel like I have to keep that connection with our customer base. I like to be out there and experience what my team's experiencing, so I know exactly what the challenges are they're facing.
Dude, that right there is everything. How many people teach people how to do things, but they're not actually doing it themselves?
Yep.
So you're staying fresh and in the moment and in the game by doing it yourself while continuing to coach, lead, and manage others to do the same.
Yeah, I try to keep a face in front of the customer, and there is nothing that, one of the big things that I do, that may be a little non-traditional, is I never go in and undermine my team. You're facing a hard challenge with a customer. And I always empower my team to make the decisions. And if I empower them to do that, and then the customer calls because of my involvement and they think they can get a different answer from me, because they may not like it, or they were hoping for a different answer, I very rarely will change my stance on it. It's because I've empowered my team to be the decision maker in front of our customers. So, if I send them in, customer can call me, but they're going to get the same answer.
Got it. Congruency, man. That's powerful, because then your team, they respect you too. They're like, if I make a decision and do something, I know that John's is gonna have my back and
I
be.
got their back, and to the point, there's been some wrong decisions made, but I've got their back, and we just correct it moving forward.
Right. Next play.
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay, cool. So real quick, how did you transition your team, director level? What's the age range?
I've got 30s to upper 60s.
I was going to say, I know I remember you, because that's one of the things we talked about. You're like, dude, I just want to let you know, like, I've got people in their mid 60s. So,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
But
So
they're solid performers, and they've been with me a long time. I'd go to battle with them.
How did you make the transition? You got 30-year gap. How did you inspire, motivate your team to make this transition?
To be honest with you, I had a lot of fun with it in the beginning. I mean, Zoom and Teams and some of those things, it enabled a lot of fun too, right? Whether it was a background, whether it was a video, it was even before anybody knew there were backgrounds, I was already on Amazon and ordered backdrops, and I had different stuff that I would just do to incorporate some fun into the daily calls. Because when this thing was first started, I mean, you didn't have a choice. It was daily. There were daily updates, hourly updates, whether it was internal, external. So on the internal ones, I just tried to have a lot of fun with it to drive them to, they were almost coming to see what kind of shenanigans I was bringing to the meeting. And just have their involvement. And then they all know that I am pretty computer savvy and software savvy, and so they've all known that they can come to me. They don't have to feel uncomfortable and go to IT or something like that to figure something out. And I'm happy to try to train them and teach them, whether it's directly job related or not job related. I try to be as accessible and open to the team to help grow in whatever aspect of their life they need. So to get them to digital, there were some challenges, but it was more time constraint challenges, because you had to help walk some people through some things. But they grasped it. I mean, and I was, as I said, I am very blunt and upfront with things too. I pretty much told everybody that this is the future, and so I need to know if you're on the bus or if you're getting off at the next stop. Because that I can't change where the world's going. Right. And so, I will help you get through any obstacle, but if you're not down for it, we just need to be honest with each other now.
And I think there's a lot of, unfortunately, leaders that don't have the ability to make that statement. Like, you're in or out, man. Like, I'll do everything in my power to get you up to speed, but I gotta know, like, are you in or you out? Sometimes you get so fearful of, like, oh my God, if I say that, well, you're going to lose the person anyways. They're not going to do it anyways. So you might as well find out. Is that kind of your mindset around that?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's also why I said I would go to war with this team. This team has been so solid, and I feel like, as much as I care and love for them to continue to grow, I feel like it reciprocates, and they would do anything to ensure the success, and to ensure that I continue to grow, so I feel like it's really a back and forth between us, that I may be the leader on paper, but those guys inspire me and push me every day too.
Got it. I think that's huge, man. Is just like allowing yourself to be in a position where first of all, you're doing what you're wanting your team to do. You're actually doing the sales and the leading, which is what you want them to do. You're saying I'll be there for you at any step of the way if you're having trouble. You don't have to go to IT. You don't have to do that. I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there that get themselves into a leadership role and they're like, I'm only going to do this. Whereas the way you were able to get through it is you're like, I'm going to do what you're doing. I'm going to lead the way that I want you to lead. And I'm going to be here every step of the way for you to get it. Now, with that being said, because I'm doing all those things, you either get on the bandwagon and we're going to go at this thing and be the strongest team in the company, or then I can't fly with you. And I think, but you came at it with the approach where I'm going to do all of this for you. Are you with me? Versus this is the way it is. Are you with me? There's a big difference with that, right?
Yeah, there definitely is, because we've all experienced the other in our lives, at some point. And that goes back to when I said, I try to pick out, I think every single human being has something to offer. It might not always be positive, but there's a teaching moment in every single person that you meet. And you can pick something, whether it's good or bad. It's something you want to be or something you want to make sure you never are. Yeah. And that's what I try to do.
John, do you try to coach your team versus just like managing is mandatory important, but do you also try and like coach your team, try to lift them up, try to, there's a difference between managing and coaching, right? Do you see that difference, and do you feel like you do both? And if so, how do you go about doing it?
I do, and I really try to, sometimes they look at it and they think, well, why are you asking me to do this, or why? And really it's a part of the coaching of it to try to change or make sure that they're looking things from different angles and not getting into that tunnel vision view, and just step back and look at it a little bit differently, because we all can be guilty of it. I find myself get trapped into some sort of a routine or something, and then something hits me and I'm like, what am I doing? Why? So I try to be there for them to help just kind of throw that signal a little earlier and coach them to be on the watch out and make sure that you look at it from several different angles whenever they're looking at things. So it's been good. It's been really good.
Different perspective, right? Yep. That's what coaches bring to the table, is like, people are like, oh, I'm going to just do it on my own. I don't want to be coached. I just want to be managed. It's like, dude, you're missing out on like different perspective and speed, right? Like you said, you moved up that chain because you had mentors, right? Mentors, whatever, coaches, mentors, same thing. It collapses timeframes. It's like, here's how I did it. Here's what works. Do that. And then you do it, and then it works.
Yeah. And honestly, there's a lot of times that the team is doing the coaching back, because, if I'm trying to coach them and they give them the angle and they come back with but, and I listen, that might be the right play. I mean, we're looking at the playbook together, and, I might have a perspective, but every once in a while there's an aha. I am never going to say that I've always got the best or, the brightest of the ideas. You grow and they come from the team.
Belichick and Brady used to have a meeting every single week where they discussed what their top plays are going to be. Belichick didn't have that meeting by himself.
Yep.
Brady didn't have that meeting they had them together, and they got each other's input. And that's how they came up with these insane game plans that they just freaking couldn't lose.
And I'm willing to bet that before that meeting, Gronk and all the other guys were meeting with Brady.
Yeah. 100%.
So yeah, you gotta bring it all to the table.
So that's like, if we were to look at like your secrets, maybe not secrets, but people don't look at it that way. And just from my point of view, I think that's definitely a huge part of why you moved up so fast and were able to stick with one company and do it, which is a whole nother conversation in itself. But in sake of time, I want to jump into yourself, your performance, your health, your body. Take me from, you were looking at the scale, you're almost 370 pounds. What was going through your mind in regards to your life, your team? Like, where were you at?
Listen, COVID wasn't easy on anybody. Right. And, just going through the motions of that. I had been 360 to 365 pounds for the past 15, 20 years. And, I lost my father at age 63 to heart attack and a slew of other health problems. And I never really was putting it into perspective. And as I'm getting older, it's 48 now. So it was right at that, not long after a 47th birthday, I got on that scale last Christmas and I saw 368 pounds, 368 and a half. And I'm like, I'm not going to see 370. And I got to do something about this. I love my family. I love my job. I love my team. I gotta do something. This is for me. And, I honestly didn't realize how terrible I felt until now. But I put my mind to it, and like everybody else, I set that January 1st as my date. And I thought, this will be a joke to everybody because everybody starts their diet January 1st. Right.
Yep.
And I said, but that's part of what drives me is when people tell me it's impossible or you can't, it's going to be a fad or whatever. I'm like, I like to prove people wrong.
Challenges. You like challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went at it. For me. It was something clicked in my head and I said, I'm going all in. And, I got in about a month and a half of it and I started to really feel the changes, because I was losing an average of 1.5 pounds to 3 pounds a day.
Because you had so much water weight and excess in your body that it was like, in the beginning, it probably went crazy fast.
It went stupid fast. And I was really starting to feel the change. And I'm like, all right, I'm into this. And then when I got into late February, I'm like, all right, this is going to be my lifestyle. And, the way I was eating, I was making sure that it was high protein, low carbs and no added sugars and things like that. We joke around my house that I'm coming up on 1 year clean from pop or soda, as most people call it. But
yeah.
People are proud about the alcohol, but I'm proud about that because I used to drink a 6-pack of Sprite every day. And that was a ton of sugar and chemicals and things going into my body that, when I got to that pure diet, the feeling in my body was unbelievable. And like I said, I didn't realize how terrible I felt every day. And as I look back, it was translating out into, how I looked at other people and how I perceived work and everything else. And it's just like, it's opened my mind and just to what's possible.
Yeah.
And there's no turning back. Once I got I was down 111 pounds and my wife's like, you're stopping, you're done, and I'm like, we got to figure something out because I can't be done. Like I am not changing my routine. It's habit now and it feels good. I was riding my bike 75 miles a week, at least outdoors. And, I said, I guess I have to change my eating habits a little bit. I'm going to have more intake or something because I wanted to go until my body said no, but when the wife says no, so we're working on that. I'll get to my goal eventually. But I got to.
What is that? What is it? 6-pack? Is it just like look in the mirror and just be like, dude, I'm a freaking beast? Like, what is the?
That doesn't matter to me. That really, that part doesn't really matter so much. It's I want to get down probably to the 325, 330 range at some point, or 225, 235. Hey, I was saying 300 for so many years. I just got to get it out of my head.
Literally every time I've asked, you're like 3. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Why that
I
number?
graduated high school at 275.
Dude, that's nuts.
So I'm at 257 now. So I'm lower than when I graduated high school. At 48 years
Why
old.
225? Why that number?
I can't even remember the last time I weighed that. I really can't. I mean, listen, going way back to playing midget football, Richie. You know, we had the Pups, the Lobos, and the Wolf Pack, right? I played on the Wolf Pack my entire career.
Yeah.
Because my size and my weight, I could never play the smaller ones regardless, because that age I was that size. And you know, it's just that I've just got a goal of that in my head. You know, for the first time in my adult life, I bought a size XL shirt. It wasn't a 2XL, 3XL, or, you know, so it was pretty exciting. But, you know, for me, it's not so much about the size or the appearance. It's about how I feel. You know, I have not taken one painkiller, not one cough drop, nothing this entire year. We're coming up on a full year that I will not have touched one thing like that.
Okay. How did you stick to it? Right? Like, what kept you? Obviously you had a COVID happened. You realized, you know, my dad passed. Sorry. Condolences to you about your dad as well. I mean, your dad passed away, heart attack. COVID came around, which really did attack obesity and people with diabetes. So that's a force, a driving force. But what kept you in the game, right? You hit roadblocks. It's not just perfect all the time, right? You probably had times where you had cravings, and you had, like, how did you stick to it? What if you had to choose one or two things, like, you know, like tangible things that someone else may be able to do? What do you feel you did to stick to it?
It was absolutely making it a routine. I think that is probably the biggest thing, is you have to set a regimen, and you have to maintain that, you know, and having a support person of sorts. You know, my wife was my sidekick. My wife goes down every single morning and goes through the same workout with me. We take the dogs for a walk.
That's big.
You know,
that's like accountability right there.
Absolutely. There were a few days where I was like, oh, man. And she's like, oh, we got to go, and vice versa, you know, and we've really just held each other accountable to going down. And as we've talked, you know, the lifting is a smidge of the whole thing. And I apologize if you're hearing Holly in the background. You know, you've got to stick to that, you know, and it's a piece, but that piece is a building block for the regimen and the routine and habit building. You know, when I would feel like I was getting hungry, or I was feeling like I was going to go open that refrigerator door, I buckled the dogs up and we went for a walk. You know, and I just did not sit on the couch. You know, when I had those feelings that were going to send me towards something that was normal or comfortable, I had something else in mind that I would do instead. So, you know, if I felt like I was getting tired and I wanted to sit down on the couch and it was 6:30 at night, it was, nope, I'm going to head out to the garage and I'm going to work on something, or I'm going to go out in the yard and I'm going to work on something. Or I'm going to take the dogs. You know, I found other things to replace, to break normal and keep that uncomfortableness there. And now there's just days she looks at me and says, can you just please sit down for a minute? You know, you know, there's always something to do, and life's too short, you know, so I want to get it done.
I have something for you. So I have right here, I don't know, let me see if you can see it. This is a large. Okay. So I gave away all my XLs. So when you're 225, this should fit you. It's pretty big. It's big size. But you got your next play in the front, and you got your what, how, when, go on the back. So this will be your 225. So when we get off, I'll have you send me your address. We get to head over to you. But hey, dude, you got, like, that's a challenge. Like, I want, and you know, however long, bro, you're gonna take a picture in this shirt, Because you could definitely be 225, 230 in the shirt and then
Yeah.
post it. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool.
Fair enough.
That's cool.
Give you a challenge.
Yeah, I'll tell the wife. Richie said I had to do it.
Hey, it's like, it's here. Like, I don't know what to do, man. But no, you're absolutely right. Habits, routine, schedule. And when you have cravings, when you have times where you're like, you start going down the tube, it's like, next play, go.
Yeah.
Which is for you, buckle up the dogs, let's go. It's like,
Yep.
I can't, anytime you're in a state of defeat, frustration, addiction, it's like, boom, nope, next play, go. What, how, when, go. That's kind of the model. So, dude,
all summer long, people are getting in the pool. And, before I get in the pool, I said, oh, I got to have a reason to get in the pool. And I'd go ride 15 miles and then come home and jump in the pool, just tried to always make there be a reason to relax.
Freaking nuts. I love it, bro. I love this. You are freaking relentless. Let's wrap with this. How did you transition? Obviously, this probably made an impact. I mean, I could be wrong. It's probably made an impact on your team. It probably made an impact on your performance and yourself as a leader. Did it? And if so, walk me through what that impact was.
I'd like to think that it starts with, it was a good health impact for the team. There were several members of the team who kind of got inspired by it, I would say, and they took things into their own hands, and I helped coach them through that piece. And that's where I mentioned that, to be there for them, whether it was work related or personal or whatever, however I can be there for them because they're on the team. So, we talked through a lot when we traveled together, we walked together, we worked out together, and we held each other accountable on the road as well through that. So, it kind of resonated out, and some other folks decided that they wanted to be healthier. A couple of the guys that you met, and you saw us as a group. I would say you could tell that we all sold snack foods. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Several members of the team have made some really good positive changes as well. And, I think it brought us closer together too, in a lot of ways, and opened up a lot of conversations and things. So.
That's awesome, man. So, dude, so many things happening there. Performance was increased. Your relationships were increased. Trust was increased, and you're making an impact on people that maybe would have been much harder to do. But it started with, hey, John, dude, how are you doing this? You help them there. And then they're like, man, hey, can you help me in this area, in this area?
And the backwards accountability is great. As a leader, it's uncomfortable whenever you have your team trying to hold you accountable while you're holding them accountable. But it kind of opened a door there that was challenging, but fun, to have that backwards accountability as well.
Freaking, it's amazing, dude. I know so many people are going to take away a lot from that. Do you have like a system or a process that you use consistently across the board, right? Because like consistency is the name of the game, right? Like, is there something that you have in place consistently with your team? Do you meet with them weekly? Do you do team huddles weekly or individual one-on-ones weekly to have that sense of accountability? Or is it something that you do more ad hoc? Like, how do you go about doing that?
I would say it's a little more ad hoc because I have the open door with the team. So yep. I talk to everybody on the team at least once or twice every week. But we have a bi-weekly team meetings because I have a couple different teams for different segments of the business. And so I break them into those segments, but then occasionally we will have a complete, division huddle to get there. I will say that one of my goals is to get a more disciplined one-on-one, where it's less ad hoc and it's more of them being able to speak to me and dump on my plate what they're struggling with, what they need. So that is a 2022 goal that's on my list for me to grow and do better for them.
Beautiful. I love it, man. And I think that's really smart and really powerful. You know, one thing I learned just and during the pandemic, we grew our online coaching, not what I'm doing with corporate, but in the fitness space. We basically 9x the revenue in 11 months. And we did that by doing one-on-ones. And this is kind of what we teach now, which is like, the second I walked into that meeting, my coach taught me this. He's like, dude, the first thing I want you to say in your one-on-ones with your team, like, so we have a full sales team now, is I work for you. What can I do to provide you better systems, better processes, whatever, to make you more successful? How can I make you more successful? Like, I'm working for you right now. And that mindset shift as a leader, like, made like, they were like, what? Like they looked at me and they're like, they're just like in shock. And then it was like, well, you know, if we change this script, it would be good. And if you could help me with this system and process and this objection and this, and I was like, and then we got somewhere. We made so much progress in such a short period of time that during the pandemic, you know, we went from a very small amount of revenue to multiple 7-figure run rate in a very short period of time because of just that one switch in the mind. And it sounds to me like that's something that you've done. And now in 2022, you're really incorporating, is like, you've always been, I want you to hold me accountable. How do I make you better? And now you're just really putting it into a process. Is that kind of what I'm?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, one man can build a house, right? He can lay 100 bricks a day. But if you get 10 people all lined up, now you're laying 1,000 bricks a day. That house is going to go up a lot faster. So, you know, it's just the more you can bring that team together, the better off we are, you know, and the accountability is a huge part of it.
So your next play for your team is set. I love it. 2022. Let's go. How about for you, John? What's your next play, man? What do you know, you're VP, you're crushing it. You've completely changed your body. I'm sure your income has also been a part of that. Like, what's your next play, man?
I'm working on my next play. I definitely have my next play in my mind. I'm not sure that I'm ready to openly share my next play.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, but yes, I am ready to push to the uncomfortable again. So it's going to be something uncomfortable. I can promise that.
And one of them is going to be fitting into this, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
All right. Awesome. Well, listen, John, I'm so glad to have you on. For those of you listening, I got the pleasure to work with John a couple years ago, and he's continued to grow to levels that are really, really powerful, not only in his business, but also in his personal life and his life and his health. And, you know, I hope everybody here took a lot from it. So appreciate you taking the time to connect and share your story.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time, Richie. And, you know, I truly do appreciate the time you spent with us and the team, and it was impactful. And I think it's very impactful that we've stayed in touch over the last couple of years since that time, and look forward to keeping it that way.
Absolutely, man. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Next Play podcast. If you liked the show, make sure to leave us a review. For more resources, visit relentlessuniversity.com or download the free Relentless University app. And if you're interested in having me speak at your next event, visit relentlessrichie.com. Until next time.